What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Punk Rock Radar. Today, I have a very special guest with me from rapidly ascending punk rock label Punkerton Records. I have the owner here, Brandon Lewis. So, Brandon, thank you so much for joining me. How's everything going today?
Man, it's good, dude. Thanks for having me on. I'm pretty stoked. I've been following your stuff for, well, I guess since I started the label pretty much. So like a little over, well, probably about 4 years. So
Yeah, I think we started about the same time. I feel like 2020 Punkerton Records, right?
yeah. I mean, I think technically my 4 year was December 11th. So
Right on.
so maybe a little bit after that. Whenever you started working or you were covering Lame Ass Dads, I
Yeah.
think.
So that would have been, yeah, I think 2021 they were on like the blind band reviews. I think that is how we first got synced up, if I remember correctly. Great guys, lame ass dads, great guys for sure.
Oh yeah, no. Ron especially. I talked to him a little bit more. Um, he pretty much set the tone for the label, like his sort of our culture here,
Mhm.
right? Like our everybody up together, everybody cheering each other on. I mean, like Lame Ass Dads, the ultimate punk rock cheerleaders, and yeah, they're amazing for that. So
Yeah, he's like the best hype man. Like everything I do, even still, he's always there to comment and cheer me on. Like great guys. So, but
either they're great guys or they just have nothing better to do at work. Either way, thank you guys. No, I'm kidding. I love them.
no,
They were our very first vinyl release, actually. So
right on. Yeah, I remember that. I have that copy in my closet still. So Brandon, what I want to kind of do today is gonna be like a little bit different than what I typically do. I had my Discord think of some questions for you because we haven't really talked to a label head in quite some time, and I think somebody like you, where your label is just all of a sudden just exploding. I think people have a lot of questions like, how did you get here? What are you doing differently? Challenges, stuff like that. So I love to ask you some of these questions, and then we're gonna do a little bit of show and tell. You send me some nice care package, and then you and I have some news we want to share too at the end. So,
yeah, absolutely.
all right.
Real quick, speaking of care packages, because we had talked about this before, you actually sent me a hoodie, which it's hanging up right there, but I had to, grab it. But thank you for that. I got those cool stickers you sent, and I meant to make a video, and then I had to have my gallbladder removed, so it just kind of went to the side. But for what it's worth, I appreciate it.
I've been there, man. How long have I had these packages? I feel like I've had them for like 2 months. So I'm with you,
Yeah, it
dude.
was a
Like,
while.
shit gets backed up sometimes. People don't understand how much
Yeah.
work this is. So I get it, man. Well, the video comes when it comes, but um, I'll get into these questions because some of these guys they kind of flow together with questions I had too. So this one I got a little serious from Hova in the Discord. So shout out to Hova. What made you want to start a record label, and what's kind of the background and history, as you could say, in Punkerton Records?
Yeah. So I came up with the name when I was about 16. One of my friends, my friend Robbie, had to do a community service project in high school. So his idea was he wanted to do like a charity concert, and I knew all the bands. I'm from Paris, Texas, real small town, and so I helped him put together. I mean, I mostly put it together. Sorry, Robbie. Um, and I needed something, so it kind of started off, it's like more of a promotional company. And that's really all I did, was mostly like as a promoter. And it lasted for 2 years, and I did like a handful of charity events, right? So it wasn't really a record label. It was called Punkerton Records, but I didn't really, do anything with it. But I shut it down when I was like 18, whatever. Life happened, all that stuff. Well, this is where the story does get kind of dark. So in early 2020, about 2 weeks before the pandemic shut everything down, my dad committed suicide, and it was like it screwed me up,
Yeah.
right? So I got back, I got back from his funeral down in North Carolina, and then like 2 weeks later, the pandemic shut everything down, and um and I actually talked about this next part on our Instagram the other day. So during the pandemic, everybody was sort of recording themselves in from home, or they were doing like live streams and stuff like that. And I had recently become a fan of Make War, and it was like one night, it was like 1 a.m. or something. It was in April of 2020.
Mhm.
Jose from Make War was playing, and he was the only one there, right? Like no, I was the only one there. I mean, nobody was watching, and we're both at 1 a.m. just drinking, and he invites me into his video chat, right?
Mhm.
And I talked to him a little bit, and it was really cool. And he's just, I love Make War, and Jose's an amazing individual. And we got to talking about his old band, Sad and French, which was pretty much Make War before they became Make War. And um he was talking about they had like two or three vinyl records left of that their first band. And he ended up eventually sending me a signed copy of it.
Oh, nice.
And it was really awesome. He wrote this, because it was 1 a.m. and we'd been drinking, we were talking about some pretty deep issues.
Yeah.
And he wrote a really sweet and kind note in there. And so I had this vinyl record signed. I was like, this is amazing. But then all these other people had all these like vinyl records, and I started kind of collecting them. And but I still hadn't any intention of starting a label. And coincidentally enough, on the same day, two different bands reached out to me from my hometown. I would say right around the same time as I got that record. And one band was like, "Hey, we're getting our old from my hometown. We're getting our old band back together from high school. We're going to play some music and record some stuff. And do you want to bring back Punkerton Records and put it out for us?" And I was like, "No, I don't. That seems like a lot of work." But literally, and these bands are unrelated. Like 5 hours later, and it's no joke. This band from back home as well, called Pearl Street Rat. They're like alt country punk, and Wesley, the lead singer and songwriter, was like, "Hey man, we've been sitting on this record for a few years now." They had turned down a record deal, and I they wanted to put it out, and he's like, "Do you want to bring back Punkerton Records?" And I was like, "You know what? Like, this is one of those here's your sign moments." And it was gonna start. It started as just me putting out some music from some of my friends, and because we are in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like, there's no
Mhm.
shows. So it's a little bit of networking and digital releases. You know what I mean? And
Right.
we got CDs. They didn't do very well because nobody was buying CDs at the time, and but yeah, that's pretty much how it started. I just wanted to release my friend's music because like we're all just dealing with just stuff. And again, like I was dealing with some on a
Yeah.
whole nother level, and music was just really getting me through it all. And um I thought, well, why not? So
Yeah. I feel that, man. Almost like the same. Like for me, like with Punk Rock Radar, it was like a name I came up with in 2013, and I was doing like obscure band spotlights on Tumblr. Believe it or not, that's where the whole thing kind of started. And then pandemic, I was like, all of a sudden, I'm not traveling for work. I've got all this time. I was like, let me actually like revive this and do something with it. So that's yeah, dude. I mean, some of the best things spawn from tragedy, right? So I'm glad you got it together, because yeah, because now you're killing it, man. I was telling you right before we started, I can't sign into Instagram without seeing a new Punkerton release or a new Punkerton band video. So every week there's something. It's like incredible. So just shout out to you, man, for like growing this from the ground up, and it's awesome.
yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it. I literally I started this label with $150, uh, to pay for like a website and my business license. And so to see it where it's at now, I probably don't appreciate it as much. Well, no, it's not that I don't appreciate it as much. I don't realize, I don't take a step back and go, oh wow, okay, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people say that, I'm like, thank you, because I don't give myself enough credit. Honestly, I feel like I don't. I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to any of this. So it's nice to hear it from,
Yeah.
other people, I guess.
I mean, you guys are out there. I see your stuff just as much as I see like bigger labels. I mean, you're getting to that point now, so you guys are just killing it with promo releases. All this stuff is awesome. And that kind of leads into the next question, also from Hovas. If you, I know you have like a pretty big variety of sounds and bands in your label, but if you had to dial it in for somebody who's not familiar with your whole catalog, would you say like Punkerton Records has a particular sound that you go for, or is there any elements you look for in bands when you sign them to Punkerton?
So when I'm looking for a band, I can love their music, but if they're not good human beings, I don't really want to work with them.
Yeah.
Um, and that goes back to Ryan from Lame Ass Dads in our culture here. Um, I like to work with team players. So if everybody's a team player and we're all coming up together, I kind of reminiscent of the mid and late 90s, where if a band was on Fat Records and they were coming through, you were going to their show simply
Yep.
because they were on Fat Records, and because you knew they were going to be it was going to be a good show, and it was going to and so I sort of based it around that. Now, as far as the sound, um very much just trying to bring back that music that I grew up on, the early 2000s punk rock, emo sort of nostalgia vibe. It
Hmm.
it doesn't always it's not always that, but that is what we're going for, is that, you know, if you want to, if you want to live your glory days of 17 years old, when you first got into punk rock, start listening to Punkerton Records bands, and you can kind of feel that. So
I get that. It's like kind of like the more like pop punk leaning bands, like not the label itself, but the stuff kind of Victory was doing in the early 2000s. Would you say it's like similar to that?
well, my biggest influence for the label actually is Asian Man Records.
Oh, right on.
Um,
Yeah.
because they were releasing ska bands and they were releasing punk bands, and yeah, they didn't do a lot of emo, but that the Mike Park, I mean, he's been doing it from his garage for decades, and that's sort of what I want to model it after, right? Like, nobody has a bad thing to say about Mike Park, right?
Yep.
And except, well, not except, the what they say is, he works, he does it himself, he's doing it all the DIY AF, right? And um I kind of want to, that's sort of my inspiration for it. As far as the music, I mean, I grew up on, well, I'm from Texas. I grew up on country, and old school country, like, Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And so, it's one of those things where it's like I got into punk rock later on, but I also had like a hip hop phase, and that's, I'll release anything that I like personally.
Yeah.
If and I will release all of my friends, because again, coming up together, right? A lot of my friends, they may not ever get the opportunity to get on a label or get their
Hmm.
music out to worldwide, right? And if I have that opportunity to help my friends out, like, I'm going to, because that's what you're supposed to do for your friends, I
Yeah.
think. So yeah, I mean, there's not really a specific rhyme or reason to what we release.
Yeah. Good people and you're feeling the music. It's a family, Punkerton Records. I like it, man. It is
Yeah.
like there's not too many labels like that, like with your like Fats and your drive through, where there's like an identity, and like just having that sticker on the CD is enough, like you're saying. Like if I saw a band, I was big into drive through when I was a kid. I think we're about the same age. If there was like a drive-through band rolling around to Poughkeepsie, I was gonna be there, even if I never heard them before. If there was a fat band rolling around, I was gonna be there. So that's kind of cool that you're following that kind of ethos and style. Because, dude, I miss that. I miss just being able to find like a label that's just full of like a stacked roster. I know it's gonna be good regardless, even if the style is slightly different. It's gonna be solid, and that is what you're doing. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and I understand, like, if we have a hardcore band, but you're into pop punk,
Yeah.
you may not like the hardcore band. We get that. Like, I'm not naive to that. but it also helps in the way we do this. And this has actually been really not, it's not that I'm surprised. It's just been a lot better than I thought it would be. You know, if let's say, well, for instance, coming up this next week, Middle Out is doing a small run with Bad Year. So Middle Out's in Detroit, Bad Year's in Milwaukee, and they're playing some shows together. And of course, they're playing soon. Actually, it's funny, I'm wearing the shirt. They're playing in Chicago with Blind Adam in the Federal League. And I don't know who set the show up or how it all got set up, but like Blind Adam just put a song on our compilation, and they're amazing people. And hopefully I get to work with them one day. But it's just, I like to see that. Like if a band's going on tour and they need a place to stop, I basically request that whatever band is on our label, like if somebody's going to St. Louis, then they need to hit up Modern Angst, and Modern Angst is going to try to help them get a show there. And the same thing is when Modern Angst was on tour, Middle Out and the Boy Detective played a show with Modern Angst and brought them out, and that's cool because like there's all these shows, right, that are, I'm not saying that it's necessarily intentional, but a lot of them are just Punkerton Records showcases
Yeah.
because our bands, and that's cool to me. I love that. That means everybody's getting to see the label in full. And yeah, Middle Out and the Boy Detective and Modern Ink sound nothing alike,
Mhm.
but you go to that show and you're going to have a fun show regardless.
So you touched on it a little bit. I wanted to ask you about this because I think this is a really cool endeavor. So you've got that comp, right? Which is Rock Against Trump. And I remember as like growing up, the Rock Against Bush thing. How many bands did we find on those? And there's a second one. So how did that comp all come together?
Well, you know, uh, the election didn't go as well as a lot of people were hoping. Well, you know, at least the people I associate with. And honestly, it was weird. It's one of those serendipitous moments. Kennedy from Panther Revival called me up and he's like, "Hey, we've got this single. I just wrote it like the day of the election, the day after the election. I kind of, I'm gonna release it." And had mentioned something about possibly, putting out some sort of charity comp or nonprofit comp. And like the same day, Middle Out did the same thing, which funny enough is their song ended up not getting done in time. So they're not going to be on volume one, but I was already sitting on Unrealized Gains by the Boy Detective. And so I asked him, like, "Hey, I want to put this comp together. Would you like to put that song on there?" Well, pretty much make it the featured comp because it was the only one done. The Panther Revival song hadn't been recorded yet. And they're like, "Yeah, that's totally cool." And so it was going to start, it was originally just going to be Punkerton Records bands, right? And it would have been a short comp because our roster is only so big and we only have so many new songs or unreleased songs. Um, and so I put a call out looking for unreleased songs, and because I kind of wanted it to be like, all right, you got to go to this comp, and I figured more people would purchase it that way, so we could help out these charities, and because we got like 6 of them, that we're gonna split all the proceeds from, and even with just unreleased songs, like the just it was overwhelming. Like it went, I mean, I wouldn't say viral, but a lot more than what we're used to as far as each of our posts.
Mhm.
And I gave the deadline, and I was getting close to the deadline, and I just felt like we didn't have enough songs on it. I really wanted to fill out a CD, and it was like maybe half of
Yeah.
what would have been. And so I was like, you know what? If you've got a song that you feel that fits, it's politically or socially aware, send them to me. And
Mhm.
originally it was just going to be enough to flush out that CD. Well, I ended up with like 120 submissions that I felt were, would have been,
Yeah.
and then I got sick and I had to have my gallbladder removed. Like it was Christmas night when I got sick, and I was like, it was really done sort of haste. It was done in haste. It was finished in haste so that I could get it out by
Mhm.
election. I was like, you know what? If you sent something and it at least sounds like a song, then. let's put it on there. And so we did. We put it on Bandcamp, and it's doing pretty good. I think as of right now, each charity is getting roughly about $100.
There you go. Yeah.
So and divided by six, I mean, Bandcamp takes a huge chunk, which I hate, but
Mhm.
I think it's doing well, and the amount of support. I mean, I'm getting uh, my inbox is filled with people who want to be on volume two. So
So is this
and
gonna have a physical release, or is it gonna be Bandcamp only for this one due to the size?
I I think volume one is going to just be digital. The only problem is with doing I wouldn't mind doing like a two CD set.
Yeah.
The problem is there are so many songs that it would fill up like four CDs, and I don't want anybody to feel left out, but also that's a lot of money to just
Yeah.
put out for a double. I mean, I don't know, a double disc or something. Maybe we'll see. I don't know where we're at with it. Um,
Get like a
but
quad
volume two
disc
will
thing. Then you're talking expensive on that packaging. You get like a quad CD disc thing. That would be wild.
that would be you know what? I like to do cool things, and I never thought in a million years I'm gonna see, because I
Yeah.
know that I could just get them all replicated and then get a 4 disc set and get my guy to print some stuff. Let's see. That'd be cool. But the thing about CDs, so with a digital release, it's $20 and you get like 70 songs or something.
Yeah.
Um, a physical, uh, I feel like I would end up just losing money on it.
Yeah.
And and if I lost money, we certainly aren't getting any money raised for
Mhm.
any nonprofits. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, I might try to do that. I
And
might try to do that because that would be cool.
it would some of the benefit you'd have from like a CD, being smaller than a record, you're losing that benefit because it's gonna be like that thick with the 4 CD too. But I mean, it'd be rad if you can have a cool ass poster in there with all the band's art or something. That'd be pretty sweet. Um,
Yeah, no, it absolutely would be. And if I can work the numbers right to get it financially viable. And to be clear, like to anybody listening or watching, it's not about me making profit. It's just I can't lose money, because then that means no one else is going to
yeah,
make money, the nonprofits. And I'm not in a position to just donate
hundreds of
a bunch of
thousands
money
of
for them to
dollars.
not
Yeah.
make any. So, but yeah, no, I think it would be good. I really do. And I know volume two, we're gonna, I'll actually have time. I won't have to rush anything, and it will have a physical release. So
All right. So if bands want to be part of Volume Two, are you still taking submissions for that? Because we have a lot of bands who watch the show. I bet they're curious about it.
I'm not actively taking submissions. So our normal email is submissions@punkertonrecords.com. That is for people who want to be on the label. But for people who came after the fact, they don't see that we actually had a spot that was for the comp. It was like a Google's Forms
Mm.
thing. And yeah, so my inbox is flooded already, and it's like, please don't send this. We will announce it. I'm in the middle of a few other projects, so please don't, because because what it is, it's like, I'm glad that they are interested in all that, but I can't go through all those single submissions. I can't do that. Like, I've got to
Yeah.
my when I tell you I've got a lot of submissions, I think after the fact I got another 100. Um, and I don't know how I could even feasibly listen to all of them at one time. So it's easier if it's in like
Yeah.
a Google Forms and they filled out all the information. So anyway,
Yeah. If you waited, you gotta wait for Volume 5, guys. Sorry. But one of the bands on there, Brandon, that we'll talk about, and I don't know if this is announced anywhere yet, but we can maybe talk about it, and if we need to cut it, we cut it, is a band called SKCH that we may have some news coming up on. Is there anything we want to share about the
and
guys in SKCH?
well, I like to be as fully transparent as I can. So Skeech is a band from Germany. And well, real quick, how did you get, because this I'm involved because of you. So I'm cool with telling whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have anything definite as far as release dates, but we are releasing the record. So
So with SKCH, I had heard their EP, And there's this one song on there, "Skeet or Die," and I was like, this band rips. And it was an EP. It was 4 songs. So I reached out to them. I was curious if they wanted to do like a CD or a 7 inch. I love 7 inches. I love CDs, that kind of stuff. And they had actually told me, hey, we've got like a full album done that we're gonna put out. And I was like, oh fuck yeah. And so I sent it to you, and I was like, "Do you want to get down on this? Like, I feel like it's gonna be like a pretty big release. Like, it sounds a lot like the stuff that I listen to, like very skate punk, like kind of like Krang in that genre. Like, so that's right up my alley. But I wanted to do this right, and I knew that you were kind of, you're the man for like lots of variants and get shit done. And I'll be honest, like with the way I run things, it's kind of loosey goosey. I partner with like 4 or 5 labels, and then we all kind of collectively do the work. So I was stoked when you were into it, because this record kicks ass. I can't wait to share some of it. And if people want to hear the first song, the way to do it is on the comp you just put out. So I'll make sure and link down below to the comp, because I'm super excited for this release.
Yeah, that was the last thing that like, it was like a last minute addition, and like I literally didn't talk to you. I didn't even tell you. So
I'm always good
if
with
that
it.
was my bad, you know. Well, no, and I reached out and I was like, hey, do you have a song you want to put on this? Because like, you know, that'd be cool. And he's like, let me talk to the band. And Max is great, and it was here we
Yeah.
are, and it does, and then that's the only place to get it. And we're gonna be making announcements and stuff soon about everything. But yeah, like I'm nothing if not an opportunist. And I felt like, I mean, the song is very fitting, and I felt like it would make a great addition. I mean, that comp is a banger.
Hmm.
Like it it there are some amazing songs by some amazing bands on there. And um, you know, I'm glad that it wasn't just limited to the Punkerton Records roster, because I felt like it would have done a disservice. And um, it's doing well, all things considered. I don't like Bandcamp. I never used Bandcamp, and I still I'll put it out there, be the first to put it out there. I adamantly disagree with their business practices, but it was the only feasible way for us to do this. So
Yeah, I've heard like very mixed things on Bandcamp. I've never put a single thing up there personally, but
people pay $20, and I after all that, we see $16.21.
mhm.
And they advertise that it's 15%, but that's not 15% for anybody who's good at their math. So
Nah, that
yeah.
doesn't add up.
But anyways, yeah, no, it's a banger. And I was the Boy Detective was used in all the promo, because that was the only thing that I could freely use until everybody had their licensing agreements filled out. And I feel like people just thank you for buying it, but also go check out those bands.
Yeah.
It's got everything. It's everything punk and punk adjacent, and it's going to a good cause. Just real quick, ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Trevor Project. Oh god, I'm on the spot. You'll put them in the comments,
Yeah,
right?
I'll put them
Is
up.
that
I'll put them right up on the screen, and in the description a link to each charity. We'll do that.
Innocence Projects, Punk Rock Saves Lives, and 6 Feet Over. Sorry.
There we
Okay.
go. It's a lot to remember, dude. Don't worry. So kind of back to kind of what you were saying about Bandcamp. I did get a question from the Discord that's pretty relevant to this. So you're building a record label. You're starting from scratch in the era of streaming. So like, what are some challenges that you kind of face today that like maybe 20, 30 years ago, when everyone was just buying physical media, labels didn't have to worry about? Like, what are some things you're seeing now that you didn't really see being a challenge?
Oh man. Well, I guess first off is bands aren't aware of what royalties they can and cannot collect. Um, and I have found that to be a problem. Bands aren't registered with their performance rights organizations, their sound exchange accounts, their SoundScan account, they're all these their songwriting, and I just there's a million different things that bands are not aware of. And a lot of that is not something that a record label even normally even handles. But I felt like I would be doing bands a disservice if I didn't at least make them aware of, hey, you go register this so that you can get credit for this. And, if you're
Yeah.
streaming through DistroKid or CD Baby or TuneCore or whatever, um, if your stuff's not registered in the right place, that money is just sitting there. So
Mm.
essentially double whatever you get from streaming if you get registered in the right places. And that's been the thing, because yeah, when I actually really started the label back in 2020, I had these old books that I got on Amazon like 20 years prior, and all of it was irrelevant now. They were just so outdated. And so, and I watched a lot of YouTube and figured out how to use different things. Um, and the algorithm, that's the biggest challenge. Is back in the day, especially in punk rock, and if you weren't big, like, you didn't release singles, right? Like,
Yeah.
on a record, you put a record out, it all just came out, right? And that's not the case now. It's I'm trying to tell bands all the time, like, yes, your album's done. I know you're ready to release it. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's release some singles every like 6 weeks, because you want to hit that algorithm, because you want to make some fans
Mhm.
and grow your audience. And like, it sucks. I get it. Like, I hate it. I hate the social medias. I hate all the things you got to do in this current landscape of music. But if you want to be successful and you want to make new fans, outside of just road dogging it all the time, that's that's the best way. And a lot of bands, I mean, honestly, I think we talked about it in the chat with Skeech. Good for them. They have been sitting on this record, and they want to give
Yep.
it a proper release. And I spoke with them after the fact, and I was like, this is what we need to do, because you don't want to waste it. You don't want to spend $5,000 recording a record or whatever it is, and just throw it out to the wolves and hope that something pops off. You Marketing and all these, PR and all those things, and places like Punk Rock Radar and things like that, to get people to hear it and to listen. I mean, it is the everything's flooded with new
Yeah.
music all the time, and you want to stick out, and you want to be unique, and you want to be able to promote it and do a bunch of different things. And yeah, so that's what I'd say about that one.
Yeah.
That was difficult to learn.
That's see, I'm kind of like you. Like it's the same for me. Like when a band puts out a single, like I'm very rarely excited for a single. I like to listen to the entire album like front to back. But I get it, because if you put out a single, that's one chance to get on a playlist. You put out a second single, that's another chance. And then your album comes out, it's a third chance. Where if you just put your album out, you got one shot. You got one shot for people to hear all those songs instead of like maybe two, three, four, five. And I've even seen like the extreme where bands are putting like five, six, seven singles out before the record comes out. But I get it. I mean, it's all like a
That's what
numbers
we're
game.
doing now.
Yeah,
A lot of the times, that's what we're doing. We did it with Knives. We did it with The Boy Detective. Um, it a minimum of two,
yeah. It's got to be at
but
least two.
there's nothing wrong with putting 5 or 6 singles out. There's not.
Mhm.
Middle Out, they put out five. Their first one is what hit. Ballerinas,
Yeah,
like, holy shit. Like, we didn't expect that. We didn't expect that till like the second or third single. And don't get me wrong, Ballerinas is a great song.
Social circle, but there's no one around. So it's sunny when your head is above the clouds. Hearing echoes when talking aloud.
But I don't feel like that was their strongest single to come out, but it was definitely the most popular. And that's honestly, when we put that out, and that's what set the stage for us to grow so rapidly.
hmm
We put that out, and last year, and almost a year ago now, and um or actually it might be, what is today? Anyway, but yeah, and it was fantastic. And we're like, yes, this is great. Like, and now that's the strategy, you know, and make music videos, like
Yeah.
make lyric videos even, because you never know of all these different little things, what is going to just absolutely explode, right? And bring in, 500 new followers in a day. So
That puppet video for Middle Out was awesome. Like little things like that, man. It's just little things that catch people's attention. That video I watched like 4 or 5 times. Usually I'm a one-time music video watcher, but like something like that just like appeals to you, like you kind of need it, and you got to stand out with today, because there's how many freaking punk bands now. You have to find something to stand out.
that Middle Out, the video that you're talking about is to the song Silhouette, and that pretty much is what got them in the Boston Globe not that long ago. Because Struggling Artist Podcast, they have their record club, and he was a big fan of that video, is my understanding, or something. But he ended up picking it up for the record club, and then he ended up getting a write-up in the Boston Globe, and their vinyl record was like front and center, and it was like, you never know what's going to happen. And and a bunch of little things can lead to a bunch of different opportunities, right? If you've got this single, or you've got this video, or you've put something on social media that catches fire for whatever reason, it could swing the door wide open for you. So yeah, absolutely.
So kind of based on what you're saying now, this is a question, and when I ask labels this, because this is the kind of stuff I'm curious about, sometimes people don't like to answer this question, so feel free to answer however you please. What would you say are like the best selling records on Punkerton Records?
Okay, I'll spotlight some of the big ones that kind of were sort of game changers for the label. I'll put that, because it doesn't necessarily, this isn't in any way a knock on any of the bands and their sales and all that stuff, and I won't give specifics, but Lame Ass Dads, up until 3 days ago, had the most pre-orders out of any band. Their fans,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like, that was our very first release, and it was, I was like, wow, this is easy. It wasn't as easy as I was led to believe, but they had the most in sort of pre-orders for a while there. The Tony and Gravel, Not Dead Yet LP, we just sold out of its first pressing about 2 weeks ago, and that was pretty amazing, considering it was all random color vinyl, right? So people weren't buying multiple copies. If we had to release that record with a white variant and a blue variant and some splatter variant, done, we would have, but that was only my second vinyl release.
Yeah.
But it sold really well, and sort of that's sort of where that curve was, because his vinyl record came out not too long after the Lame Ass Dad one. And then Middle Out, the popularity behind their record was just, because we ordered a lot, right? That's when I switched to ordering a certain amount that was double what I had been ordering before, and it was really good. They were part of why we ended up being able to get into distribution, and so that was a huge deal. The Boy Detectives vinyl record, I have never seen variants sell so fast. Those ska kids, that ska scene, the ska community, holy shit, ska is a cult, and I'm proud to be a part of that cult. No, they were so supportive. That record, while the sales, eventually tapered off, that record probably saved the label in a lot of ways, as far as sales and and different things. And I've told them this, you know, between them and then the 7-inch they did with Half Dizzy. And to be clear, Half Dizzy's side of the 7-inch sold a lot too. It was weird because when we did the 7-inch with Half Dizzy and the Boy Detective, so Half Dizzy's got the song they did with Vic Ruggiero from the Slackers, and then the Boy Detective side has Jay Navarro, of
Yeah.
Suicide Machines fame, and
Sick
Eric
song.
Abbey. They're in Jay Navarro and the Traders. Eric Abbey, he even has a special variant. Well, I can talk about that later, but it was hard because like we were trying to figure out how are we going to split this and how are we going to determine, just. And I was like, I don't think we can, because like we got a shit ton of orders from New York. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this.
Go
And
for
a
it.
crap ton of orders and from Detroit. But then we got a crap ton of orders from everywhere else, just people supporting ska and I was like, oh, this is so confusing. But these were all literally dropped within like a week of each other. So they're full length and then the 7-inch. And it was just like, wow, the ska community like really came to bat. And that was just something I learned, like ska. It's just
So
yeah.
message to all the small labels out there who are struggling: go sign a ska band. You'll turn things around. You'll sell out a couple hundred copies, and you get back on your feet, right? Is that essentially what
Yeah.
happens?
And like, again, this isn't I'm mostly just talking about the ones that had like the
Yeah.
most immediate impact. Because like this is in no way. I mean, I think I told you in the break, Panther Revival. I'll tell Panther Revival. Their pre-orders were, not where we were hoping they would be, and then they went on like a 3-day run with Apes of the State, and boom, suddenly they just sold a
Mhm.
shit ton, and it was like, sweet. So I'm mostly talking about like the pre-order type stuff, and then of course our juggernaut that just happened a few days ago. We signed the Dreadnoughts, um, and for we're doing a reissue of their song, or not a reissue, a first issue, physical release of Green Willow, and the pre-orders on that I can't even put into words.
Yeah.
I mean, all over the world, people ordering these, and it's honestly blown my mind. I'm still kind of in shock by how many we like. I've never pressed 1,000 records and a week later being like, oh God, I should probably get the repress ready. Uh,
That's wild.
so yeah. And but again, like we put out a lot of records last year,
Mhm.
and all of them are doing well. Like it's not like I'm worried about certain ones. Like no, they're all doing well in their own right. I know that like Knives had these special variants for Fest and for the release, and those did extremely well. Um, and and like we did that Prozac split with the Downstrokes, and the way we did it was different than I normally do. So like we essentially split it like 3 ways. So we did all the pre-orders, and then what was left over we split 3 ways.
Mhm.
And you know they can sell at shows or whatever they do, and I sell online, and we're still selling them online. So
Yeah.
like it's all over the place. And um and I'm hoping like when we have a band like the Dreadnoughts, yeah, they're Celtic sea shanty, folk punk, but maybe somebody that is a fan of them will you know check out our other bands, and vice versa. I'm just, that's what I'm hoping for, and I'm hoping that we can get everybody to a level that they're comfortable with as far as their popularity. I know some of the bands don't want to be rock
Mhm.
stars. And you've got you know a million different personalities on our roster, and it's been fantastic. So like I won't say success, I don't measure success by how many records are sold. i
Mhm.
i, I measure success by how happy a band is, with how I'm doing things and
Mhm.
how they're being perceived by fans, and and it sort of go off that way,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And as far as I know, I haven't seen anybody complaining about Punkerton Records. No Victory Records situation or anything like that. That's why I was hesitant to make the comparison earlier, obviously. But Brandon, I think this is a good time to crack into these packages here, and we could talk about some of the bands, some of the albums in here. I think we probably hit on a couple, but I've been chomping at the bit. Like I said, it's been about 2 months sitting in my office here, so I'm dying to see. You always hook me up. I have I have my copy of Middle out, like I said, which I still listen to. It's a great record. I'm gonna play like a short clip probably of the Silhouettes video too, since we talked about it and since it's so rad. But
Yeah, they killed it. They killed it with that. Like unfortunately I didn't get to make that video shoot that day, and very disappointed. Like I missed it, so
yeah, super cool guys too. All right, so the first one we got here is, you were talking about the Panther Revival.
No time to rest, no time to grieve. This perpetual nightmare will end with your life.
So what can you tell us about these guys? And is there a track or anything you'd recommend for people who are unfamiliar?
Oh man, well actually, not on that. Oh yeah, that's pretty.
There you go.
Not on that record. They just released their single Day One, and that's what I would recommend people listening to. Not that they shouldn't listen to that record, but if we're going to be talking about that, I didn't know them, but Kennedy, the lead singer songwriter, he lives in a small town called Greenville, Texas, which is about 30 minutes from where I'm from. And he reached out, and I saw that he was from Greenville, and I was like, let's talk. Nicest person in the planet. And he is probably the most active cheerleader on the Punkerton roster. He is always pushing everybody. And you talk about somebody who's really good at building relationships and networking. Kennedy, hands down. I mean, he's a master at it. And he's fantastic. And, they just had a lineup change, and all of their new members are amazing too. And I admittedly have never seen them live, and that's where their strongest compliment is their live shows. So hopefully finally I can come see them soon. But yeah.
Nice. What style is the Panther Revival one, would you say?
They're sort of like hardcore. They kind of got an old school hardcore feel to them.
Nice.
And very politically charged. They a lot of punk influence too, but definitely just very politically charged hardcore.
Right on. All right, so the next one, this is some cool ass album art, dude. This reminds me of Mars Attacks, 90s movie. This is Prime Directive, The Fallout.
Since you have broke my heart, I hear screaming in the night. I can't live without you, girl, in this cursed land of light.
What can you tell us about this one?
That is the very first band I ever signed to an actual contract.
Sweet.
Oh yeah. And when we signed that contract, they literally were about to release their last record. And so we kind of dicked around for almost 2.5 years before we did something and put that out. And they turned out beautiful. And they're a Columbus local sort of staple of punk rock here. And, they've been around for quite a few years. They started off as like a Misfits cover band, I think. And it's very sort of, it's got a lot of sort of sci-fi sort of horror punk rock vibes. The Last Starfighter is the song on there that I absolutely love. Their songs are, like I said, they talk about sci-fi and horror stuff. I mean, really, and it's a lot of it's tongue in cheek, but they're more like street punk, I guess you would say, or harder punk rock, I guess. So
Nice. Dude, I'm excited to spin this one. It's beautiful looking. Everything, the packaging is sick on this one. And I'll have links to grab all these down below too. But that's Prime Directive. And the last one in this package we talked about a little bit before. This is the Knives record. One Cut Away from Love. I know you love
That
these
was my
guys.
favorite.
Fell in love when I missed her. Now I'm dying to kiss her. Why can't I just move on? You want out like a fashion, like I
That was my favorite record that we put out last year. Like, and it was hard to make that decision between Middle Out and oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
cool one.
It was, and this isn't to say one band's better than the other or blah 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 blah, all that stuff. But from a songwriting perspective and from a sonic perspective, it was a close race between, for me personally. This is just for me personally, like from Middle Out or Knives. But I've listened to that Knives record. I still listen to it. That's my go-to. If I'm like, what do I listen to? I throw that record on. I think Danny Attack is a brilliant songwriter. And that is nostalgic
Yeah.
punk rock right there. So
It's so, dude, for me, it's like so well written. And the Danny Attack solo stuff, like it's not like a style that I find myself like seeking out. But dude, if you throw that vinyl on, it just like, it sounds so good. It's like just a great album to just have on. It's just very well written. His vocals are incredible too.
yeah, that's what, yeah, I got, somebody was trying to get him booked through Columbus and he ended up playing here, and his vocal is
It's crazy
yeah,
good.
love it. I love it. His voice.
All right. Damn, dude, this is a lot of stuff. All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, my bad.
No, it was awesome. All right, so we got the Boy Detective.
Every day's the same. Nothing ever changes. I'm not sure I'm to blame.
Half Dizzy, the split that you were talking about. So yeah, the Boy Detective features Jay Navarro and Eric Abbey, and the Half Dizzy side featuring Vic Ruggiero. So what can you tell us about this one?
Hot dumping, mind is racing. Our world is theirs for the taking. You're running, now they're chasing. No escape, you're never gonna make it.
So yeah. So Half Dizzy's been on their label for a while, and just things kept kind of getting delayed and all these different things. And they had this song that they wanted to release for Halloween in 23, and they wanted a feature, and we like asked a bunch of people, and they couldn't do it. And I had met Vic Ruggiero at Punk Rock Bowling. Oh yeah, you got the glow in the dark vinyl.
There we
variant.
go.
And so we ended up getting Vic on that song, and we released it as a single. Well, then the Boy Detective had recorded some singles, and they had Jay Navarro and Eric Abbey on this one song, and it was titled Cannibal is what we were calling it. It has nothing to do with Halloween, it's not a spooky song, but the title, and Half Dizzy they have two songs on their side, and they've got a remix version by Destroyer, who does a lot of like 80s themed horror remixes, right? So like drum and bass remixes and stuff like that. And he's pretty huge. He's got a big following too.
Mhm.
And I listened to it and I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, original plan was they were just going to put the remix and that one on the same 7-inch. And I was like, man, I've got this amazing song from the Boy Detective. We just got it sitting here. Let's do a 7-inch. I haven't done a 7-inch yet.
Yeah.
And we've literally got two like staples in ska featured on this on each side. And with Jay Navarro and Vic Ruggiero, like, holy shit. And then I started thinking about this is the best ska 7-inch that has been put out in the last 20 years. I'll die on that hill too.
It's bad,
Eric
dude.
Abbey,
It is. It's so good.
I do want to quickly say, so Eric Abbey from Jay Navarro and the Traders, and literally just like he is an amazing individual. He right when we were releasing this, like as this was getting pressed, this was a last minute thing. Um, he had some health issues, and so we made two special variants. So his recording place is called the Castle, and then they call him the Professor, right? Like this is his nickname. So we've got a clear with green splatter and a clear with red splatter, two different variants that we were using to raise money to help offset some missed work and medical bills and stuff like that, and those are still available, but we're giving proceeds to that for them, and yeah, so just shout out to them, and the ska community came through and they were really supportive, and that's again, I love the ska community. I was never really a part of it, and now we are, and they welcomed us, and it was amazing, and yeah, we released some good ska this year. It
Yeah.
was great. So,
Hell yeah, man. And like I said, I'll put a link to that down below. If anyone else wants to support great cause, there'll be a link right down below to do so. And now we got, so Dylan from the channel and from Dying Scene, he was super stoked about this record. This is the Downstrokes.
Real time, I prefer not to. Maybe just play smooth jazz. I prefer not to. Just be another slum. I prefer.
And the Prozac split. Better late than never.
Sun is shining in my eyes. What will it take to feel alive? Pillow pulled up over my head that's keeping out the light. Delusional, I'm seeing.
Now I'm curious, like how did this come apart? Did the bands approach you separately, or did you kind of put this thing together?
so I knew Jay Prozac from I don't know when, a couple of years ago. I've known him for a minute now, and we had always kind of not anything serious talked about working together, and then Jerry from the Downstrokes, I think, is the one who initially contacted me. I don't remember, honestly, at this point. It's because, but they wanted to kind of take a different approach to what I normally do. But they're both awesome, and they're like, basically, we've got this record from some old punk rockers that we want to put out, and it was very much. It just kind of, it was weird because they're so used to doing everything DIY, and here I am over here like, no, we got this, and I was doing it right because that's their, and they both said they're not used to labels doing it like that. I'm very hands-on and helpful and things like that, and it was great. It was great working with them, and we got it done. And man, talk about cool variants.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry that you got the boring variant. There are some cool variants. I'm pretty impressed by that. So they both got whatever they have, and then if you want a cool variant, you just come to Punkerton Records, and because they can sell at shows.
Yeah.
I can't sell at shows, so like that's why I got the cool variants, I guess. It just made more sense. But they were on board with that, and yeah, no, they're great, and they they're not on the Punkerton Records family in a traditional way like we do with our other things, but they're definitely part of the Punkerton Records family, and hopefully we'll get to work together again, sometime. So yeah.
Right on. All right, so up next, I'm super stoked to get this one. We've talked about this band a little bit so far. We got the Boy Detective album here, Exhibition. And what's the story behind this one? This is a little bit of an unconventional release too, right?
Yeah. So when they approached me, I'll be honest, I get submissions a lot. Ooh, that's nice. That was supposed to be a little bit more solid gold, but it happens.
I could see it more in person, like it doesn't show up great on the camera, but I could see kind of like the goldness in it here. It's badass.
It was supposed to be sort of a darker, solid color gold. I mean, they look great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, they don't look bad. They just weren't what we thought they were going to be. So like the hype stickers are a little off because I'm not reprinting hype stickers for that. But yeah, so I get a lot of submissions. I probably get 100 a month or something. I don't really know. I don't really count anymore. And I don't listen to any of them unless something's got to stand out. I just don't have to. I mean, we don't have the capacity. Like, it's not. There's no telling how many awesome submissions that I have skipped over, and I know that I have, because there's been times where I've gone back and finally got some time to listen to them, and I'm like, oh man, they just released, it was like 6 months ago, they just released this album on so and so, and I'm like, shit, this was a good one. I missed out. But they had approached me with a really unique thing, and it ended up working out. We're going to work together, and they're like, hey, we've got this brand new record that came out in January of last year. It's a EP called Art Theft. And then we have Band from the Bathtub. We want to put it all on one record, and we ended up, what they did is they recorded new horns for the Band in the Bathtub side. And yeah, so that was sort of, they've got Art Theft and they've got Band from the Bathtub, and we're putting them together. They both got mastered together and everything, and it sounds great. And we've got, I'm not supposed to say a lot of the specifics, but they're going to be recording later this year with somebody really awesome in the ska community, and it's going to be in more of a tropical climate. That's about all I can say. So we're pretty stoked about that. They're finishing up all their demos and everything like that. But they were also sitting on like 5 singles that were unreleased. So they did, they had their Christmas song that they released. They had the song they did with Jay Navarro, and upcoming on Valentine's Day, they've got a new song that they're dropping, a new single. So they had 5 singles, like I said. So we're just kind of releasing them. Kind of like what we were saying earlier, where you release something that, every little once in a while. So
I gotta add that potential release to we're doing a most anticipated 2025 video soon, so I gotta tack that onto my list now that you mentioned it, because that gets us the Punk Rock Radar seal of approval. That record, I think it's badass, dude. And this one also gets the Punk Rock Radar seal of approval. The Modern Angst album.
There's a road and I might just take it, leading down a path unknown. There's a sign that says don't you stop yet, leading down the one-way road.
Is it part 10 or part X?
I'm pretty sure it's part X. That's what I've always called it, and Jared's not the lead singer. He's never told me otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you got that one. I can't remember what I sent you.
This one's sweet.
I am in love with that color.
Yeah, this is thick too. This is a thick boy.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And that is, now talking about records and favorites and things like that. The album, the insert in there, did you pull that out? Pull the insert out of there. It is fucking beautiful. It's got the lyrics, it's got everything. It's got, in the bottom corner you can see all the singles, because they had the single artwork or whatever. I think I did 3 of those on the single artworks, the 3 bottom ones. And then I did the layout for that. Originally it was gonna be black and white, and I was like, well, I'm doing this, let's do it in color. That's my gift to you.
Looks nice.
And then I did the back, but the artwork on the front, one of their friends did, and it looks amazing, and it sort of inspired the rest of what I did. That is my favorite looking album art. Hands down, of all the things that right there reminds me of early 2000s punk rock artwork. And again, like, that's our theme. It's be good people and put out nostalgic sounding music. And I think we did a pretty good job of that last year. So
yeah, this is beautiful, man. And I'm a huge fan of the halftone art. It looks awesome. This is probably my favorite album cover for sure too, of the ones. This is badass. And the back is beautiful too.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm proud of that. All right, so to interrupt real quick, I'm going to be sending you, this is the next thing. Let's see if I can make sure I fit it in. So Rookies of the Year was delayed a little bit.
You were different from the rest. When it comes to acting, you're the best. I would be lying if I said we didn't have a chance.
But but we finally got them in, and this will be headed your way. This is the pink variant, which was only available in stores. They accidentally sent us 2 more than what we ordered, so he's getting a copy, and you get a copy. And
Hey.
now
There we
this
go.
is obviously not punk rock. This is a lot of pop punk and emo. It even has a couple of R&B songs, but I don't know if you can see. Actually, I'll probably be easier if I just do it this way. This has got some banger features. Chantel, R&B artist, like 1.5 million monthly listeners. Make Out, pop punk band, really huge. Ryan Cabrera.
I
and Melissa
on the way
Schaumburg,
down.
Loki.
Dude, on the way down. I remember that song. That was huge.
And then we got Reliant. Well, where's my finger at? Anyways, Reliant. I can't do it because I'm backwards. Reliant K over here. Yeah, no, it's and then this is unreleased. So the only way to get Empty House is to get a physical copy of it. And yeah, I was stoked to, I hate that it was delayed, but I was stoked to be a part of that. So that was I wish that could have been part of our 2024 releases, because that would have been a perfect cap off. But it's a great start to 2025. So
Hell yeah. Excited to listen to it. I'm excited to listen to all of these. I got my day planned out now. So Brandon, I want to close this out. I got some rapid fire questions that I just got from the Discord this morning. And they're kind of good. They're kind of fun questions, less formal. So we were having to I wasn't really super part of it because I don't know where to lean either way, but there was a discussion in the Discord yesterday. 2 people kind of bickering back and forth on this. Do you feel like, as a label owner, do you think art is essential for human survival?
absolutely. Music got me through my dad's death. It got me through my time in Afghanistan. It got me through my divorce. Music especially, but to each their own, right? So whether it's books or literature or whatever it may be, it's essential. To me, it's music, though, of course.
I'm on board with you, dude. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I just lock in, put my headphones in, close my eyes, and just, kind of take you out of what you're feeling. And it's for me, it's such like a genuine way to express yourself too. I'm leaning towards like it is essential as well. Like, humans need to express themselves to get out some of the emotions that they're not able to put into words, in other ways,
So I have a history degree in Western conflict and diplomacy from Ohio State, and I bring that up to say that there's proof behind this, because if you look at some of the worst conditions in human history, right? If you look at certain parts of Soviet Russia during the Cold War, they were literally making vinyl records out of discarded X-ray, whatever those things are called. I don't know the exact name. I apologize. But, they have old punk rock ones actually, still. Basically, people were getting bootleg music wherever they could. And that's definitely been the case since, the invention of music. I mean, not only just in a personal way, but also in sort of like a political level and a social level. Like, people will do what they have to do to be able to experience music. And if it wasn't essential, and if it wasn't a need, then I don't think that would have been the case. But
I'm with you, man. I agree 100%. All right, we got 2 fun ones to close it out. So Brandon, if you had to, and this is kind of putting you on the spot here, the top 5, you can do 2, 3 most important punk rock labels or punk rock releases to you personally, like over the course of your life. Which ones would you say kind of shaped you, or which one's most influential, however you want to spin it, but just 5 important records to you?
oh man, okay. For me personally,
Yep.
and Out Come the Wolves.
Hell yeah.
That album just blew me away, and I was like, oh, what is this music? Well, okay, prior to that, even though this album came out afterwards, Nimrod by Green Day, because that was my gateway into punk rock. And then of course, and Out Come the Wolves. Then I would say, gosh, Menzingers on the Impossible Past. Oh gosh. Then I would say Smaltz by Spanish Love Songs, mostly because that helped me deal with, well, my dad's death. So that was why that one is. And oh gosh, fifth.
It's tough,
That
right?
one, those other ones were easy because it's
Yeah.
like those were, and then and then everything else.
Okay. It's dude.
No, because I feel like that would take me so long to come up with something that I was just 100% sure of. I actually had a 59 sound by Gaslight Anthem.
Okay, there we go. Dude, I'm telling you, if you want like 400 friends to come out hang out in the Discord, I feel like the Menzingers are like one of the most discussed or disputed bands in there. People are always talking, are the Menzingers and what are music? Are they good or not good? So if you ever feel like getting into it with people, defending the Menzingers, that's the spot.
Well, so it's funny because I don't listen to anything anymore.
Yeah.
Except for Punkerton Records bands. And so because I just don't have time. I don't have time to, occasionally maybe, but I don't, it sucks. But I'll go back and I'll listen to the things that I used to really love every once in a while. I'm like, oh my God, this album is perfect. And yeah. So I'm just, mostly my list was just things that directly influenced something in my life, I suppose. And because that's the only way to engage. I mean, the list could go on about what was influential or what changed my life, but those were the just very, very, keystone cornerstone, moments. So yeah, no, I get it. Like people will fight and debate all day. I'll be honest, this stays between us and your viewers. I felt that 2 or 3 of our releases this last year was missing from everybody's top 10, and I was ready to fist fight certain outlets, because what it was is they didn't hear them.
Yeah.
Because the places that did hear them, they did put the middle outs on their top 10. They did put the Boy Detectives in their top 10, or at least top 20 for 2024. And the Knives. All 3 of those records were in a lot of top 10s. Knives kind of not as much because they didn't come out to the very end of the year. But I mean, Goldmine Magazine, which is the vinyl Rolling Stone, they put Middle Out and the Boy Detective in there. And he said later on, if I had heard the Knives album before I put my list together, they would have been in there too. Nice. I say all that to say that, like, obviously music is subjective and things like that, but also I feel like as an up and coming label, there are a lot of times where you got to do something for people to actually start taking you serious. And I feel like that's what sort of happened in 2024. And then of course this first month of 2025 is just, it blew all of last year out of the water as far as the sort of people taking us, us as in like Punkerton and the rest of our bands. I mean, obviously people were, but as a whole, I guess. So I say all that to say that, like, be on the lookout for some banger records this year. So,
we're ready. We're ready, and I'll be pumping them, dude. You know that. And the last question is from me. This is something I ask to anybody who is from somewhere that I'm not from or never been to. If you had to pick a handful of must-eat spots in Columbus, what would they be?
Oh, yeah, no, I have no idea. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that. There's all these different places that people go eat. I would say my house.
Your house.
My wife. No, legit. My wife is an amazing cook. She can literally cook anything. She can bake anything. She can literally blow everybody else out of the water. and yeah, so yeah, come over to my house and we'll all eat. She will feed us till, otherwise we do have this Mexican restaurant that in the town that I just moved from, which is technically not in Columbus. It's called Newark, but we had this Mexican joint called Puerto Vallarta, and I probably butchered that because I don't speak Spanish very well, but it was amazing. Sort of like this Mexican, a little bit of Tex-Mex, authentic, really, really, really good. And I know anybody from Columbus who's watching this is gonna be like, well, what about this and what about that? And it's like, I don't know, because I don't go out and eat at those places. Because look at this economy. You think I can afford that?
I hear you. So, all right. So next time I'm in Columbus, I'll be hitting up your house and then the Tex-Mex place that I'll figure out the pronunciation later. But yeah, so Brandon, that's all I had. Is there anything anything Punkerton's got planned, you've got planned for 2025? Anything you want to share before we
Yeah, I
close
got a
out?
few things. I got a few things. First, um, right now available for pre-order is the very first time on physical release is the Dreadnoughts Green Willow. That comes out in May. If they come here sooner, we may ship them out early. Who knows? Um, and then Half Dizzy is going to the studio. They're going to Little Eden in Asbury Park to record with the Pete from Bouncing Souls. We're pretty excited about
Yeah.
that. The Boy Detective will be in the studio sometime this year. I've got a emo pop band called Tired of Fighting out of the UK. They're going into the studio. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but Rookie of the Year is going into the studio soon. And I don't think it's a secret. The Dreadnoughts are going into the studio at some point soon. I don't know how much I'm allowed to tell. We will be taking submissions for punk rock, or I'm sorry, for Rock Against Trump at some point in the next few weeks, probably. And then, gosh, there's so many things. There's so many things. I'm like leaving so many people out, probably. A new Boy Detective single's coming out on the 14th. Another punk band from the UK. They've got their full length coming out on Valentine's Day. They're called Blame Yourself. So many things. If I forgot anybody else, I'm sorry. It's a lot. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, and then the Skeech record,
Oh, wait,
which is still a little bit under wraps, but we talked about it a little bit.
We are co-releasing with a cat's claws or cat claws. How do you say it? I
Cat's
always
claw.
butcher it.
Cat's claw.
It's hard for me to say that together. The Skeech record, and it's a banger, and I'm pretty stoked about that one. That'll be out later this year. Is that it? I just put a list together this morning, and it was on my phone, and I forgot to grab it. But also, I would be remiss if I missed something, so I'm pulling it up right now. What do you got going on? Let everybody know. Anything cool?
So I'm trying to think when this video is coming out. But yeah, I'm working on my best of 2025, or not best of, most anticipated 2025. So I jotted down the ones you said so I can make sure to add it. And then we're doing a Lookout Records bracket, which is something I'm kind of looking forward to. I think there's a decent some good albums there, some that I'm not super thrilled about. And then we've got the 1994 album draft, because 1994 is loaded. Dookie, Smash, Weezer, Blue Album. We got Alice in Chains. There's a ton of good records, so I'm stoked to talk about that. But yeah, anything you missed, Brandon? I see you got the phone dialed in.
Yeah. So our good friend Tony and Gravel, he's going to be going into the studio soon, and he'll be releasing a bunch of music this year. Yeah, that's the only other thing that I missed that I can talk about right now. So, oh, I got a live album from this band Bonath. They're a metal band that drops in Friday, next Friday, the 31st, I think. Um, called Live in the Flesh. They're just some homies of mine. Um, they got that, and the Blame Yourself record is called Delirium Fantasies. It's going to be available on CD and streaming. Um, yeah, that was it. Yeah, I didn't want to forget anybody because like sometimes bands feel like if I don't mention them that I forgot
Yeah.
about them, and I don't. I just got so many things going on. But yeah, no, I think I appreciate you, having me on, man. I hope you enjoy the records and
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
listening to them. And I will be sending the Rookie of the Year record um, as soon as I think about it. And then I need to go through and I need to figure out what you don't have from Punkerton. I think I sent you everything that we put out last year. So
I think I do have it all. But I'm gonna do a post of all the ones I have, and I'll then you can see from there. But
because I think last time I sent you Danny Attack and I sent you Middle Out.
middle out.
So
Yeah, I think I do have them all, but I'll figure it out. We'll see. But yeah, big Brandon, big thanks to you. This was awesome sitting down, getting to learn a little bit more about Punkerton Records, and like I said, I'm super excited to work with you on this SKCH record. Hopefully, it's the first of many projects we do together with Punkerton blowing up. I will be grabbing onto your coattails and going wherever you take me, man. So
let's just do it. Let's just
um,
go to the top.
So, guys, there'll be links to all the stuff we talked about right down below. So if you want to check out the comp that we were mentioning and grab it, it supports a lot of great causes. So there's a link to do that, and all the records we talked about will be down there. And make sure you're following Brandon at Punkerton Records on Instagram. There'll be a link to do that down below as well. And if you want to hang out a little bit after this and talk Punkerton Records, join the Discord. There's a link to do that. Also, I think a lot of the guys over there would really dig this Knives record. And I know that Middle Out was on a bunch of our top 24s that we did last month. So if you want to hang out and do that, do so. If you want to support the label, go do that as down below as well. But yeah, Brandon, thanks again for hanging out. And thanks to everybody who stuck around this whole time. We appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you all next time.